5 seconds to go. Start. Resultantly, an obligation has been imposed on the transferee of the promissory notes to be deemed to be a holder in due course, that the notes should have been acquired in good faith after exercising reasonable care and caution about the holder's title. In the present case, while the Shankar Lal Saraf's holder title over the bond's promissory notes is not in dispute, but as discussed earlier, Shankar Lal Saraf's holding stood cleared by the company court only on 17 December 2004, but before the said judgment, there was a cloud over his title. Consequently, the plaintiff's status as holder in due course was suspect at the relevant point of time. The defendant bank was therefore justified in withholding payment till conclusion of dispute in company court, even though the relief claimed was in respect of an unconditional undertaking, as there were reasonable legal concerns for the transaction during the suspect spell for making such payments. It flows from the above discussion that the defendant was justified in withholding the accrued dues. The actions of SIDBI were bona fides in furtherance of RBI directives which were issued in public interest. In the cases of Clariant International Limited versus SEBI, this court, speaking through Justice S.B. Sinha, held that two conditions need to be satisfied before awarding interest. First, that money should be wrongfully withheld from the rightful owners. Second, that there should be equitable considerations for awarding said interest. In the case at hand, neither of these conditions are found to be satisfied. As per section 34 of the Code of Civil Procedure, award of interest is a discretionary exercise steeped in equitable considerations. Interest is payable for different purposes such as compensatory, penal, etc., but these are not the situations in the case before us. Here, firstly, the defendant was justified in withholding payment as they were under RBI's direction to do so. Secondly, the defendant has not derived any undue benefit by their act. And thirdly, due payment was promptly made to the plaintiffs upon settlement of rights by the court. Moreover, the concerned transactions were during the suspect spell. This, in our view, shows that the defendant acted bona fide and there was no undue delay on their part to remit the dues. The plaintiff did pray for pendent light interest in the trial court, but neither did the trial court frame any issue in this regard, nor were any arguments recorded. This shows that such claim was not pressed by the plaintiff. Further, no ground is urged in the appeal memo that such an issue ought to have been framed. Hence, it is clear that the plaintiff is not serious on its claim for pendent light interest. The issue is rested accordingly. It is evident from the record that when the payment warrants were received by the plaintiff, it effaced the warrants by handwritten remark received. Pertinently, in the first instance, protest was only raised in reference to excessive TDS deduction by the defendant while remitting the dues. The demand for interest on delayed payment was raised after passage of 7 months when the books of SIBCO were allegedly audited. This justification does not appear to be reasonable. In fact, as has been stated previously, in this judgment, the plaintiff was entitled to demand interest for delayed payment in its writ petition as well. But SIBCO has consistently failed to raise this demand at every stage, including at the stage of accepting the sum tendered by the defendant without any protest. Hence, it is clear that the plaintiff accepted the payment from the defendant as due settlement of its claims. SIBCO's failure to raise protest and demand for interest at the earliest possible stage amounted to sub silentio acceptance. Accordingly, the plaintiff is barred from raising this demand after several months applying the principle of waiver acquiescence. The defendant has argued that the principle of constructive res judicata would also offset the plaintiff's claim. Pertinently, the previous bondholder Shankar Lal Saraf could not possibly have claimed interest on delayed payment before the company court, for it lacked the jurisdiction to adjudicate claims unrelated to the liquidation proceedings against CRB Capital. But the successor bond holder, that is the plaintiff, could have claimed interest on delayed payment from the writ court. SIBCO's submission is not acceptable that the cause of action arose only on 23rd November 2005 when the defendant refused to heed to the demand of interest on delayed payment. The cause of action for the plaintiff accrued the first time when the defendant allegedly failed to pay timely interest. Since such a claim was not raised in the writ court, the subsequent suit of SIBCO, in our view, is barred by the principle of constructive res judicata. Stop.